Good afternoon, preppers. Welcome to Goshen Prepping. More banks collapsing, Feds raising interest rates again, stock market very volatile, all heading toward an economic collapse. And the bank failures, in my opinion, are some of the worst things we see. We saw the same thing during the Great Depression. And well, let's jump right into the articles. Not good news. Brace yourselves. The bank crisis is just getting started. On Wednesday, shares of PacWest plunged in after-hours trading, prompting the bank to announce it was seeking salvation either through an emergency cash call or in the arms of a bigger competitor. That's what we're seeing as bailouts. And then because of this, it says U.S. banking crisis, close to 190 banks could collapse, according to a study. And listen to this very clearly. With the failure of the 3 regional banks since March and another one teetering on the brink, will America soon see a cascade of bank failures? The recent declines in bank asset values very significantly increase the fragility of the U.S. banking system to uninsured depositor runs. So our calculations suggest these banks are certainly at a potential risk of a run, absent other government intervention or recapitalization. Government intervention is the key. And besides the government printing off money to help these situations out, the situation is actually far worse where the money comes from. The FDIC plans to hit big banks with fees to refill deposit insurance fund. And if you're not familiar with the FDIC, it was actually put in place during the Great Depression. It's set up so people who lost money back then, it wouldn't happen again. So if you actually have $250,000 or less deposited in the bank, at least you'll get your money back. They plan to exempt smaller lenders from kicking the extra money, but instead saddle the biggest banks with much of the bill. And the reason they're not sticking it to the smaller banks is simple, because of this cascading effect. 190 banks possibly collapsing. I would even say probably collapsing as we see the economy crashing. But sticking to the bigger banks is not the option either. I mean, I really want my $250,000 or less back. I'm sure you do as well, as these banks are collapsing. But again, the money doesn't come from nowhere. The Fed's not going to print off more money in this situation. Instead, guess what they're doing? They're raising the rates of all the actual insurance funds from the bigger banks, which is going to pass it down to you and me. It's not coming from nowhere. Basically, in essence, banking fees and services are going to increase now, causing more problems along the whole gamut of how the whole banking system works. We're in deep trouble. This whole system is going to eventually collapse. There's no way, especially with the Feds printing out so much money, that it's going to continue and actually be self-sustainable. It's simply not going to happen. So we need to be ready. Because again, I think all of this is simply just planning for the central bank digital currency. It is coming as well. And then guess what? Checkmate. They're going to control everything. What are your thoughts on that? Put them in the comments below. And as always, thank you so much for joining us on Goshen Prepping.